What's what libertarian is?
I hear that all the time. Let me tell you what libertarian is. Libertarian is someone who says you can be as liberal or as conservative as you want to be. Just don't force others to be like you.
Got it.
That's what we are all about. We are all about long-term solutions, not short-term solutions. We're all about changing culture, not just changing law. Law, we have to remember something. At the end of almost every single law is a guy or a gal with a gun who will put you in a cage. And if you don't want to go in that cage, he or she is going to kill you. That means you only use law when it really matters, not just because I'm angry, not because I don't like you, not because you should do some activity I think you shouldn't do, or whatever the case may be. It's only for important things like life and liberty and property and things like that. That's when you use violence. That's when you use force. That's what libertarians are all about. Welcome to another episode of Libertarians Drinking Coffee Live. The brand is strong. And yes, if you want to make sure that we are heard, if you want to make sure that we get around our media blockade, you have to do the most important thing, which is like, comment, and share. Get out there. Let people know that we are here. Tell people that we matter, because we do. Let's build out our media so that people can see us and share. So please like, comment, and share to the best of your ability. It really does matter. I know that you're saying to yourself, Larry, this is a presidential election and it matters so much, the president. And the president does matter tremendously. In fact, if you want to go check out ours, Libertarian, it's joj2020.com for Jo Jorgensen. That's correct. And she is important, and they're important, absolutely. Also, on top of that, local people running all across our country also matter. All of them matter. And today I am very lucky. I have a gentleman from South Dakota, the man, the legend himself, CJ Abernathy is here. How are you, sir?
Mr. Larry Sharpe, it is a pleasure to join you on your platform, sir. I have been an admirer of your work. I have been, not only do I hear your message in a little state like South Dakota, I'm able to take your message and say, have you ever listened to Larry Sharpe speak before? Because you got to hear him talk about this right here that matters right now, and you're going to understand what's going through my mind. It's been an interesting time for me politically. As I told you before, I started running as a libertarian in 2018, seeking the governor's race here in South Dakota.
I see.
And
I did too.
And yes, sir. So I actually was introduced to libertarianism by a man by the name of Cash Jackson.
I know Cash very well. He was running for governor in Illinois.
Yes, sir. So with Mr. Jackson, I decided that he inspired me, and then he turned me to a man by the name of Mr. Larry Sharpe and said, have you heard this Marine talk here from New York?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, who is this Larry Sharpe guy that I've never heard of before? And all of a sudden, I'm watching all your videos, listening to your speeches, going through it all, and really fine-tuning my conversation that I have with people based around what I'm hearing from the people that inspire me in the party. So I decided that, and I found out really quick, that in South Dakota, we're a small party. We're a small state, less than 1 million people. I think you had said that that's like half your district.
That's half of my county.
Or your county, excuse me,
sir? Yeah, my county has about 2.2 million in it, give or take.
And so that's like my whole state. So the message of libertarianism out here in South Dakota isn't one that has a larger following, like a state like New York. So we're a very small, tight group of people, and I'd be remiss if I didn't say that we have an incredible executive committee, and we have people that are working so hard with different organizations to help change here in South Dakota.
I'm very happy to hear that. But that means you can be more effective, though, right? I mean,
correct.
Right, because it's smaller, you can be more effective at your local level, which is critical.
Correct. And that's what we've discovered here, at least in South Dakota, is that the smaller the jurisdiction you're talking about, the more of an impact you can actually have in the political races. So I decided very ignorantly I didn't really have a home in the other two parties. I didn't get active in them. certainly was that mainstream voter thinker, like
Sure.
red team bad, blue team bad, and then flip flop
Right.
with the media. But I really found when I decided to think about leaving all of that mindset behind, I started saying, well, where do I fall in politically at home? And next thing you know, I'm hanging out with a bunch of libertarians.
Yes.
And they're like, CJ, maybe you're libertarian. And I said, well, I don't just sign on to something having not read the platform. So I went to the Libertarian Party website. I sat here at my kitchen table. I used to do what's called coffee and a conversation. Just me at 5 a.m. ranting about the Constitution to whoever cares. Yeah. And so what ended up happening was I developed my speech through that, and I developed a thinking that maybe I can change on it and have an impact. So I was seeing Cash in his run, and then you and your run. And at the time you were running, I was actually the chief operating officer of a group called Disgusted Dads based out of Brooklyn, New York.
And they must have heard of me.
Well, actually, you started talking about a subject that is near and dear to that organization's heart, and that's family law.
Absolutely.
And so when you brought that subject to the front, you were one of the very first prominent libertarian speakers to say we have a problem there. So, I encouraged Edmund Welch he was a mentor he still is a mentor of mine, and I encouraged him to hear that message, and he engaged in one of your previous shows a while back, like a couple years ago. But one of the things is that I realized at that local level, okay, well, what can I do? So I thought small party. I had already had to deal with the attorney general as it is out here and other legal matters, and I saw how their office was treating me, the disrespect, the disdain for my rights. And how they can just easily push you aside. And I said, that's not the government that I committed and took an oath to support and defend. I didn't take an oath. I took an oath to the Constitution, not a government that's gonna terrorize me. So I found out that Marty Jackley had thrown his name in the hat to become governor of South Dakota for the Republican Party. And I said live on a broadcast one day, Marty Jackley, you will be governor of this state over my dead body. And I went down to the Secretary of State's office that day and filled out all the information to run for the Libertarian Party of South Dakota. Now that was met by a lot of, whoa, who's this guy thinking he can just jump to the top of the ticket in this state? We've never heard of CJ.
Absolutely.
And so I had a lot of growing to do. And so when I ran that first race, I didn't have all the people on XCOM, and I still don't believe I do have all the people on the XCOM that really like me. Maybe I have a little respect with them, but we're growing that relationship.
I get that issue, right? Were you a member of the party in 2018 or no? When did you join the party?
Yes. So here's what happened. So I went to the DMV that day out of anger, and I signed over my voter registration to Libertarian, and the mail system took a while for it to get to my county out in the middle of nowhere, to a treasurer that probably has a stack of mail she's getting to one by one.
Sure.
And a hit piece article came out saying that the Libertarian running for governor is still a registered Republican. And I thought, that's interesting, because I remember changing this at the DMV, get the government building. And so we'll come to find out. I just said, you know what, forget it. I want to go right down and clear this up right now. So I went to my city office here and I filed with the clerk to make sure. I said, you make sure that this is my registration. And
this is funny you said that. The same thing happened to me in New York State. I literally, I in New York State, prior to me winning the election, winning ballot access, losing the election, winning ballot access, you couldn't actually be a libertarian in my state. It didn't exist as a party. You were either a none or a other or something like that, right?
Right.
So I actually changed my party registration to libertarian. It came back as other. I literally had to go to my local board of election and say, hi, I was wearing my Larry Sharpe shirt. I'm the guy who won ballot access. You probably should make me a libertarian. It's probably a good idea. And they're like, oh. And then they changed it right there.
So what I did, Larry, was I took that as an opportunity. I made a little campaign commercial out of it. I read the news clip from the Hit Piece blog site. And then I made a little video clip where I'm driving my brother-in-law, just giving him that libertarian speak, just that short clips of asking libertarian questions as he sits there, and we both fill out the paperwork, submit it, I get it registered. And now I'm in the party. And again, I had to face, we had a convention first, and I had to debate a man by the name of Steve Novotny, who was we had a very respectful debate. I mean, it wasn't your tear each other apart limb from limb Republican Democrat talking point debate. It was, these are the real problems. This is what I think would solve them. Now our delegation here in our convention decides, and we got blizzarded out that convention, so we had to, and I only got a plurality vote, so I technically didn't win, and it was pretty heartbreaking. So they extended us out to a second sitting of the convention, where I had to face a guy by the name of Kurt Evans. I ended up losing the nomination to him over a pretty sensitive topic to a lot of not truly libertarian-minded people. And, I really spoke from the heart that debate against Kurt Evans. And to me, you should defend everyone's rights as if they were your own.
I agree.
And so when you're speaking to an audience and someone brings up a hit piece question that can be extremely taken out of context and everybody's waiting for an answer, and I think I gave the honest answer, but I think it was just too emotional. I think that in my 2018 run, you get emotional when you do this. You spend a lot of time researching and everything, and I think that when you get that emotion into it, I hadn't really quite got there. I didn't really quite mature. So in 2018, I lost that nomination, but I'm still proud of that race. I still wear the hat, and I wanted to tell you I had a joke for this because I ended up moderating a debate with your running mate, Judge Jim Gray, and I got a chance to talk to them all, like, backstage kind of thing before our debate, and it was just really cordial. And then during that debate, we had some technical difficulties, and something happened where it glitched and we weren't live, and I had to tell the judge, I'm sorry, sir, that we were not live, but we will be in just a moment. The clip comes back to him asking if Dr. Jorgensen would go along with him in endorsing me for governor of South Dakota. And everybody that was in the chat thread, like, is CJ running for governor? What's going on? Like, oh gosh, like, and I was like, no guys, no, District 23 Senate. Like,
yes.
But I appreciate the sentiment from the judge and Joe and Mr. Kokesh.
Let me touch that for a second. This is a very important point that we should actually think about. I know it's a little bit off topic, but I think the way you've brought it is. I really wish more people would jump in the party and stay in the party for a little bit before they run. I think it tends to be better for us in general. I joined the party in 2012. I was supporting the party through writing checks and helping out candidates, doing debate prep for candidates, 2013, 14, 15. I didn't run until 2016. So I'd been with the party and been a member. I was a member of my county, state, and national all the way up until 2016. That's when the first time I ran for the VP slot in 2016. Then by the time I ran for governor in 2018, I was already a lifetime member of the National Party. So I feel that if you do that more, people tend to trust you more, feel more comfortable with you more. And the person I'm thinking about now actually is Lincoln Chafee. Lincoln Chafee walked in and then said, I'd like to be the presidential candidate. And I think that if he had just said, I'm in, let me hang around the party for 4 years. Let me help some people out. Let me learn who you are. Let me go to some, local conventions and meet some people, maybe speak on some issues, all those things. I think 2024 comes, he would have had a shot at the presidential nomination because we would have known him by then. We would have seen who he was by then. And I think the honesty piece you bring up is an important piece. Because I think a lot of people aren't fully libertarian, whatever that is, right? And they have other pieces that they disagree on. But when they try to hide it or dodge it, boy, we hate it. And I'd rather the person come up and say, look, I'm libertarian, but, and whatever their thing is, right? Yeah. If they, Lincoln Chafee isn't all on the Second Amendment, right? There's many parts that he's not all about the Second Amendment. Okay. Then just tell us. Don't dodge the question. Say, hey, this is where I stand. And then we as a party can take it or leave it.
Correct. Sir.
Right? But just, I stop here on Second Amendment. Okay. At least we got it. We may not like it. We might get mad at you for it, but better than trying to hide it. So funny. I think your honesty in the long run, is better. Sometimes it fails in the short run because people get so upset and angry in the short run. For sure. But I think in the long run, the honesty really matters because I've said it before many times. I've had arguments and people have been mad at me throughout the party for years. But I always say one thing, and that is, I can have you angry at me. I can't have you not trust me.
Yes.
Because we can get over our anger issues. Hard to get over trust.
Yes. And I agree with you there, sir. And that's where I've made myself more than available to.
Mm-hmm.
I've gotten to know the XCOM now and who the other members are. I've attended conventions now.
Yep.
I've been able to. We had our last convention here, and what brought me to this district local race was actually I had zero intentions of running for anything other than West River coordinator for our executive committee. That's all I wanted to run for.
Yeah.
And that's just to be able to help build that and put in that work that you're speaking of.
Yep.
But then an interesting thing happened in our convention. We actually tied the record number of libertarians running in South Dakota. And what was really cool about that is that it was like going down the list of people. It started with our chair. He's been running a pretty consistent Senate race. Going after that, he's got a pretty good pull in his district of votes coming, and he does have a chance of changing some hearts and minds here towards libertarianism, because it's kind of like you said the other day that the end of the world will not be when a libertarian takes office. You're gonna wake up tomorrow and there's still gonna be the things that we have and enjoy. It's just that there's a new voice in the state house. And so what happened is that everybody started agreeing that if we start with a team strategy, it kind of felt like we were coming together to say, our house races are one thing, but what if we ran a block of 7 libertarians running for state senate?
I like that.
And most of them, my race included, I believe there's only one that has a Democrat. So it's a Republican and a Libertarian one-on-one. Yep, and that was our party coming together to say, hey, we have an opportunity to now debate Republicans where
all right, hold on. Now we're going too far into those things. How about you? I thought this is your show. Let's go into your race. Tell me about your specific race.
I'm the first candidate here in District 23 that has a digital coffee show in the morning.
Look at that.
My other opponents don't offer that. And so what ends up happening is that people that know me know that every morning I wake up, I'm digesting the news like most of us are, feeling out what the day is, and then I'm formulating my thoughts. And what I do is I offer my platform to anybody that is in my district first and foremost, and I'm gathering information for who our libertarians are in my district. I know my county has 17, but we seem to be like a secluded 17. So I'm trying to get those 17 together and see what.
I like it.
And keeping in mind, Larry, that my district or my county here only has like 1,400 people total.
I have that in one block of Queens.
Right. So so what I'm saying is that those 17 people can all use our platforms to spread the message as well. And so what I'm looking forward to on my race against my opponents is that I get to challenge them on their platform. And what I love about the libertarian platform and how I get to use it is that we have the counter narrative to the Republican and Democrat platforms. And we also have the bridge in between the conversation of this extreme left and extreme right conversation. And when you deal with a Republican or rancher who's like, hey, I'm sick of taxes from the government, they're choking my cattle farm, I can go, I don't want them to tax you at all for your cattle farm, on your land. Yep. Like, you own your land, you own your cattle. Why is the government taking a part of your property? Yep. And when you say that, and then they look at the Republican and go, well, that guy at least wants me to pay 10%, but CJ wants me to pay 0%. So, I mean, as soon as that message starts to get out on these lower local level campaigns that we want.
So let me go to an important question.
Yes, sir.
You talked about all these people, things you can do. You've run for governor before.
Yes.
Why did you decide to run this year? And why did you decide to run for state senate versus anything else? Why that?
I think I kind of covered it in the beginning, how in the convention, all of my fellow libertarians started to decide that the goal was to go after the state senate.
Got it. So you're part of this plan.
Right. And I mean, it just kind of came together naturally in the convention as one candidate's like being declared for senate. the next candidate's like, you know what, I'm going to do it. And then the next candidate's like, I'm going to do it. And then by the time everybody's done, they all have Senate, and you're just like, well, CJ, it's like, all right, throw my name in the hat.
I love it.
And Helen, thank you. These comments are kind of getting distracting for sure.
I love it. That's amazing. So you know, there's a million different things you could be talking about, and I'm sure in your morning show you discuss them. But are there a couple that float to the top? Is taxes a big one? Are there other things that kind of more important now?
I would say that there obviously I have three big issues.
Okay.
I first off, I believe that that both the state governments, regardless of party, all state governments are essentially just slave owners. Okay. And we see that in our modern time, and relating back to the cattle rancher scenario. You know, you can relate with a rancher and say, you know how you own your cows? Well, that's the way the government treats you. And you're living this life on this beautiful state called South Dakota. You think you have dominion over this little reign of land. But when that government wants to take, they will take, and they will take your life, your liberty, and your pursuit of happiness. And so what I mainly focus on in my broadcasting is pointing out the hypocrisy in government response. For example, I can't stand hypocrisy. I get called out on it all the time. If I say something incorrect on the internet, I've got 20 comments going, "You're wrong, CJ." But these people that are running for office here and winning on just by not even being opposed to running, just get to walk in, don't face the scrutiny that we do. So I try to bring up the attention that.
So hold on. Now, I'm a rancher now, right? And
yes, sir.
You come to me and you basically say, "Hey, Larry Rancher, you're a slave."
Yes, sir.
How does a rancher react to that?
I would explain it to you again, sir, that you are just as much a slave like your cattle is a slave. So if you own 100 cows that live on your land, you choose when they go out to which pasture. You choose when they come in. You choose
which ones I slaughter, which ones I don't,
and which ones you breed, which ones you do everything. You control that. You brand them.
Yep.
You own them. You have paperwork on them. You hold a title over them.
Hold on. Are you telling me that a rancher, and I don't know this is an ignorance question for me, right? Mm-hmm. There are very few ranchers in New York State, but there are some, but there's very few ranchers in New York State. Most of our farmers aren't big ranchers. That's not the norm in New York State. The best we have maybe is dairy farms, which is not really ranching.
Chicken farms, chicken coops.
Chicken coops, yeah, maybe, right? So we're not really the same as South Dakota.
Yeah.
But do you tell me that a rancher would actually say, "Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like a cow"? Do they actually say that or no? Well, it feels to me like a stretch, is what I'm saying.
Okay, so
that's what it feels, but I don't know a South Dakota rancher, so I could be wrong here.
So for Larry, I also drive a semi during harvest season where I go out and I work for ranchers and farmers, and I haul silage and I haul soybeans, and I drive a semi for 15 hours a day, and I talk to the farmers. And when you tell them this conversation and you're on their land and you're telling them that they're a slave to the government, and but it's normally after, well, did you hear how the government's screwing this up? Did you hear how the government's screwing that up? And I'm just sitting there going, you know, you guys know I ran for governor just to stop you guys from complaining about that, right? And they're like, what do you mean you run for governor?
I see. No, now I see where you put the context. Okay.
Correct.
That makes sense. Okay, now I'm with you. Okay, I got you. I was missing the context.
Right. And so when you're actually there with the farmer on their land and you say, listen, it's beautiful. You've put a lot of labor of love into this. You've busted your rear end, your derriere.
You can say ass, it's okay.
You busted your ass all your life, Larry, to build this huge ranch. And now the government, just because you're connected to their property, or because you're in their jurisdiction,
right,
can take away your work, can take away your family's wealth.
Okay, that makes sense.
So you break it down to them, and then they go, and this is the kicker, Larry. They go, well, what would you do differently? I said, I wouldn't take your land from you. I wouldn't take your wealth from you. I would be not the roadblock. I would be your protector of your ability to pursue your life, your liberty, your pursuit of happiness on your terms, on your land.
So when you say that to them, do they ever come back with the old, But then who will build the roads, right? What everyone talks about, right?
They love their roads. I said, I asked him this, Larry. I said, you got a beautiful farm. I've had these conversations, Larry,
Yep.
so I appreciate you bringing them up.
Yep.
So, like, for example, we got a dirt road that's about a mile long to one customer's house that they paid for all on their own. And then the county came in one year and through their through taxations bladed it, and they want to pave it. And I said, well, let me ask you this question. Is that road that they're going to bring in here, is that worth it to you on your land? And would you pay for it yourself? Now, that big 300-acre field of corn, that acres over there of soybeans, and all your ranch and all your value, the millions of dollars I know you have invested into this operation, wouldn't it be just as appropriate for you to make that own road and to do that? And instead of writing the government a check for them to do it, wouldn't you rather be the guy that finds the road crew that'll build you that road, and then you know what the costs are? You're working directly. Why put the government in as the middleman? But then we have the wake up moment, Larry, and this is when the light bulb really hits them, and we get a libertarian rancher out there, and it's like, so who has been controlling this state your entire life? And they go, well, what do you mean? I said, well, who do you vote for? Well, I voted for so and so. I live in District 24. Oh, okay. Well, why'd you vote for them? Well, because I want Trump to win. And so what you're saying is you supported a down ballot candidate without even knowing who it is, just voting the red team because that's where you're at. Instead of looking at who on your local level is saying, hey, you're going to be way more powerful by voting for a third party than you are writing a check to your government to mismanage your money and misappropriate your funds.
All right, so I got that piece. I see how you got that. I see where you went there. You said you had two more issues. What's another issue?
Family law, sir.
Family law.
That is always my second to any topic for sure of what the mainstream would be. I had my child kidnapped from me by paternity fraud back in 2014.
Oh my God!
And I still haven't seen her still this day. She's another reason. She's a huge reason of why I run for this position and run in my community, because I want her to know that I'm fighting to change what happened to me, to change what happened to her. And so by being that kind of,
how old she is
right now, she's 9, and I haven't seen her since she was 5.
Horrible.
And it's not for my lack of trying or my lack of ability to put the message out. It's just that the internet's a very vicious place. We live in a very hard time to go through these issues where anything is publicly scrutinized at the micro aggression level, and you can't really let people be people when they have these emotional issues. So I had to work through it, and it's not that I don't have faith that I will never see my daughter again. It's that if until that day comes, I have to give it every bit of effort to make sure that nobody else goes what I go through. And so when I talk personally on my page about what I've gone through, it's not from a place of anger. It's from a place where people can come to me and say, and I've had this all the time being a veteran, and a lot of Marines go through divorces, don't see their kids. I get that. And it's not just dads, it's moms too.
Yep.
And that's why I'm a big supporter of Victims for Family Law for Jorgensen that's been created, because I think that's going to be a huge platform for her to speak on a topic that matters. And 100%. and with a guidance like you on how you've already covered it, Larry, she's going to have so many people that are ready and willing to help her with that messaging. And it just gives me hope. And so family law is definitely my second one. My third topic.
Have a specific pitch for family law, or no? Like you have a specific, this is the change, or this is the thing, or something like that?
Of course, Larry. Of course. So my thing is that first and foremost, we identify the birth certificate for what it actually is. It's the first government document that declares you a entity. And there's a lot of history around it. I won't get into the birth certificate history today, but what I'm saying is that we start by making that legal document accountable to what it says, because we have a lot of issues of paternity fraud on that birth certificate. So I think that by making that a document that can be charged with fraud, if you forge or if you falsify a live birth certificate, that creates a victim, as in paternity fraud. It does create a victim.
Gotcha. Yes, it does.
And so you can, if you've ever watched Judge Judy and you've seen people break down whether they are or not the father, there's a victim in there. And a lot of the times it's the child in that situation.
100%.
And well, of course. And I mean, not to say that there's not other victims counter to the child.
There are people who fell in love, people who cared, people who wanted to care. Of course. Like, I get it. Look, I'm adopted. I get the feeling of that happening. And I had a stepfather on top of being adopted. So I understand that family matters. It's important, right? And you probably haven't talked about this before. My father died when I was a kid. And I wish I had a father when I was a teenager. And I would have taken a broke dad any day of the week over no dad. And the state keeps dads and moms, but parents away from their families. What a horrible idea. What a horrible idea.
I agree, Larry, and that's why again I love the libertarian platform to be able to say that this is what the libertarian solution is to fixing that problem, and that's why I love the idea of localization, because it makes that jurisdiction a smaller jurisdiction where local issues can be handled easier, and also that we have a parental rights issue on our platform. We have that in the libertarian platform.
Okay.
The other two parties don't have that similar issue. That's a huge drawing point for me when I look at a party and what they talk about. And I know that this is a party where if I bring up parental rights, which I just did, that it's receptive in this community for us to talk about how that government issue can relate to every American, regardless, because your origin starts at that document and then is used to identify you then into the court system through the education system. Because then normally your birth certificate then goes to the education system where you're brought into the education system. Yep. And then from there, your birth certificate either confirms you into a lovely college or your local community prison. So it just depends.
Or the Marine Corps.
Or the Marine Corps. Yes, sir.
Exactly.
And we haven't brought up the fact that both of us, we were both Marines. And so, well, still are Marines. And it just, to me, it just goes to show that this also gives me another feeling of, I can still feel like I'm protecting those fundamental rights and not have to be subservient to the government, because I believe that the two parties have hijacked the word patriot.
Yep.
And made it so that the more that you kiss the ass of the crown and the government, the more patriotic you are.
That's what makes you patriotic. Yes.
But I believe that it's the opposite. I believe challenging your government to be accountable and to be violent to your community is the most important message. And so I think that we have that opportunity in the platform to discuss those. So that'd be my second topic, is family law for sure.
Okay. So what's your third?
My third topic is, again, getting involved on the localist levels.
Localism.
Localist levels. So for example, if you ask me if I have a fallback plan for what happens if I lost this race, now I'm going to lose this race kind of thing. And maybe I'll get some socks for 2024, and before you know it, I'll have all my campaigns on my body. But I would probably end up running for mayor of my local town here if I lost this, which would put me, there's about a little under 950 people here in our town. And so I think next thing would be to find when the next mayor election is and put my name and go door to door. I'm starting to learn everybody in the town's name one way or another. And so, eventually it'll grow there. So, just growing the party and being involved is my next biggest issue. It allows us to say, this is something that I'm standing on principle. I'm going through with just as much as a real person as anybody else.
Yep.
I'm putting my life, my name, my treasure, my effort into a political belief that we are fundamentally free, that the government is weaker than the people, and that I want a government. Here, put it to you this way, Larry. If I had one quote that would be mine, is that I want a government so small you question whether or not there is a government at all.
I like that.
That when you wake up in the morning, do you go, does Governor Abernathy care if I want to grow 100 acres of hemp on my farm? No, he's going to tell me to grow it. Is he going to care if I do this? Listen, it's simple. Don't hurt people. Don't take their things. If you just
and one more thing, don't commit fraud.
Of course, sir. I think that one goes without saying. Don't create a victim. So and that's where I think, for example, I'm really excited about this party, Larry, is that we have an opportunity now to get behind a candidate that, regardless of what you felt before, is going to be, and maybe you've got her website you can put up for everybody again, but Dr. Jo Jorgensen.
I thought this is about you.
It is about me, but she's a part of this is a part of my growing the party third reasoning.
So good.
This is part of my growing the party third reasoning is that.
But you know I'd have this. You knew I'd have this ready.
Yes, sir. So what I'm
yeah.
saying is what Dr. Jorgensen did for me was allow me to not only get involved, she actually responded. She joined with Judge Gray and Adam Kokesh, our top 3 vote getters in South Dakota. And she gave me that opportunity to moderate a debate, something I've never done before, something that I'm really proud to have done. And that just goes to show that had I got upset in 2018 and just left the party, I wouldn't have been able to be growing with the party. I participated in a national convention.
Absolutely.
We can say what we want about that, but what Joe
We're not gonna.
But what Joe is providing for us after the aftermath is that we can say we have a formidable opponent against the two parties that you can already see, and especially in my red state where they're going, who is Dr. Jorgensen? And you're like, oh, you just wait. You just wait, because I already know. Joe already knows. Larry Sharpe already knows that we have vetted our candidates so well, publicly, online, for the rest of history. Every micro mannerism. One thing about Dr. Jorgensen is that I told her, and I believe this still this day, she was the most improved in the debates. At first she was fumbly. At first she couldn't, really get it down. Yeah. But then all of a sudden,
CJ, stay on you.
But I am.
I
can get it. I can get back around to it, and I will wrap it up in a bow.
Look, for those of you who want, she was on Libertarians Drinking Coffee Live before. It's actually one of my most popular episodes. It's working on 2,000-3,000 views already. It's just on Facebook. It's got like 5,000 views when you add LinkedIn. I'm sorry, like when you add Facebook, when you add Twitter. But it's got a couple thousand just on YouTube. It's hitting it. Go check that out.
But my point to that is my third issue.
Okay.
Is that I can, because my point to that is my third issue. I've met more people that have come up to me privately because I speak so publicly that they say, CJ, I support everything you do. I'm with you. And it's that private one-on-one. At least I know that my message is getting out there. It's affecting somebody. And I want you to feel like if you live in my district, just as simple as it's been for Mr. Sharpe to accommodate and give me this wonderful platform, I want to be able to do that for you, to help you be able to speak, to help you be able to do this, to help you figure out where you fit in this, to help fix this. Because to be perfectly honest, the only way we're going to have a peaceful redress of grievance and change of government to a libertarian form of government is by people getting involved. That's it. There's no excuse other way. We need the people. And that's where my issue is that I believe in the message, but I also believe in proving it in not only concept, but developing in our party. And
all right, so give me your slogan then. What's your slogan in this one? Do you have one or no?
Yes, sir. So my slogan is make South Dakota constitutional again.
I like that.
And I do that as kind of like a kick to the Republicans that cling to the Constitution. Because I say, well, when they go, I love my First Amendment, I say, well, do you know I'm one of the most censored libertarians in South Dakota? Where's your First Amendment there? It doesn't exist. I can, or they love their Constitution, they love their Second Amendment. Oh, did you know that Governor Kristi Noem, she signed a bill that's already your fundamental right to carry a concealed weapon without permission from the government? They just did that as pomp and circumstance. My other one is, did you know that Donald Trump liked taking guns first and then going through due process second? And they go, what do you mean my Donald Trump said that? And it's like, no, look, here's the YouTube video. Everybody's around. Mike Pence asks him a question. Dianne Feinstein's right here. And you go, you mean this Constitution? The guy you're voting for that's saying that it doesn't matter, take the guns first. That guy. Right. And so when you get to that level and you go, now, what would I do, or what would a libertarian do? You go, okay, well, I would say that you always go through due process, and the government has no ability to take your guns. Right. And that's the opposite counter narrative. And I deal with, like I said, I've never met a Democrat in South Dakota. To be perfectly honest, I've even asked them to come out of the prairies.
Never met even one Democrat?
Never have I personally met a Democrat in South Dakota. Wow. And I mean, I know they're out there. We have a few that are elected already. But I've never met one where I'm at. And so my campaign, not that I'm forgetting about Democrats, but my campaign goes out into the Republican deep red here and challenges their mainstream narrative with a libertarian response. And normally they dismiss
that goes
me.
to my next piece, right? How do you make impact, right? I mean, because you've got a couple things that are fighting us. In your case, you got a deep red district, right?
Mm-hmm.
That has an assumption that they're going to vote red because they've always voted red, right? That's their assumption.
Yes, sir.
And the assumption is any red vote automatically, magically goes to Trump, even if I'm voting for someone local, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So that's their narrative, that's their head. How do you get around that?
Well, again, that's where you got to find the issue for them. You have to say, okay, so you talk about why you vote Republican. Tell me why you don't vote Libertarian. And then when you put that back in their court and they say, well, I don't vote Libertarian because, you can normally find that most of their things are based off of not doing their own research.
Got it.
And sticking to that comfort zone. And then by then, all you need to do is to be able to introduce it. Because then that's where I then turn to, well, have you heard about Larry Sharpe? Have you heard about Cash Jackson? Have you heard about, Adam Kokesh? Have you heard about Judge Jim Gray, Joe Jorgensen? Have you heard about these names? Before you go and before you condemn me to why I have my opinion, why don't you go research why I have that opinion? Why I support that candidate? Do
these people that you're talking to, when they're open and chatting with you, do they usually come back later, or is this the only time you see them? Like, in other words, do they come back next week or next month and go, hey, CJ, I looked at that video, or I checked online, or I watched that thing? Do they do that and come back to you and go, you were right, or you were wrong, or what about? Does that happen?
Normally, if I direct them to somebody, like...
Nice. I'm so happy to hear that.
Normally, if I direct them towards somebody's content, like yours, they'll come back to me with, man, did you hear this part about what Larry Sharpe said? And
good.
Or man, I really liked what Jim Gray had to say about that. And then it just opens that door for that more context, because you don't want to just bamboozle somebody and say, here, you're a libertarian.
Absolutely.
You want them to come to their own conclusions freely. And just by allowing you to be that conduit, to be able to be that question spot where they say, CJ, I really didn't like what Joe Biden had to say. Well, neither did a libertarian.
Right.
Yes, I mean, and or CJ, I really didn't like what our governor had to say, but I still vote Republican because I don't want a Democrat to win. And you talk about how your vote shouldn't be an automatic vote. Your vote should be the most thing you value the most.
So let's go there. You brought it to the right spot. What about that idea of fear, right? The fear that if I vote for you, CJ, then the other guy that I hate is going to win, right? So I can't vote for you because then the other evil people, they're the ones who win. So really a vote for you is a vote for the evil people.
Well,
how do you get around that fear?
See, I'm a true believer that if you own yourself and that you are a free individual, that it doesn't matter who's going to win necessarily, as in, are you that voice that you want to hear? If you're complaining about the two-system government, what are you doing in order to change that? When I could, so for example, I go back to CJ, all you do is complain about Donald Trump or Joe Biden. CJ, why, you just shut up. You're getting annoying on the internet.
Yep.
Then all of a sudden, boom. Okay, fine. You want to say I'm just ranting on the internet? I'll put my name, I'll put my hat in the ring, and I will try to earn your vote, because I believe the vote should still be earned. It shouldn't just be an automatic, I vote red because until I'm dead, I vote blue no matter who. It should be, I vote for the best candidate, for the best position, and I do my research to figure out who that is, so I don't just go and live in that fear. You have to acknowledge that you're living in that fear. I don't live in that fear. I've actually said this. A vote for Dr. Jorgensen, I don't care if they take a vote from your red team or your blue team. That one vote that goes away from your red team and your blue team is one more vote for our team. It's two more votes for our team.
What you just said is interesting. What you just said is showing them that they're living in fear.
Yes. A phobia.
you have to show them that they're living in fear. And then you think at that point they'll go, oh my God, I'm living in fear. You're right.
Well,
now they're open to hearing you. Now we have the conversation. Is that where you're going with that?
Have you ever heard of what a hoarder is, Larry?
Yeah, sure.
A hoarder. So it's recognized mental health disease. It's got
100%.
19 million people affected by it. It's a very tragic thing for families to go through.
Yep.
And I kind of compare our government to a hoarding house.
Okay.
And at some point, these people get comfortable living in all of the filth and disgust, and they just
absolutely.
I've been on a hoarder's binge lately. And so, but what my thought is that if you're gonna show somebody that they have a hoarder house government, then it's got to be cleaned up at some time. And it's going to be hard to go through. And that's why there's doctors and psychologists and teams of people that help get people through the grief of letting go.
Specialists and everything.
Because their life is living in fear. And so once they have that understanding that they have been manipulated to be afraid, to challenge that normal, to challenge that way of thinking that you've been indoctrinated into, and then to have a party that comes along and says, no, wait a minute. You're not just a slave to this. You have a voice. It matters. And I'll show you the place where you can go talk that freedom talk, and we want to hear it. And then before you know it, I'm putting out the date for a convention. Hey, we're meeting at this bar at this time. We've got this meet up at this park, and it might only be 15, 20 of us. But I'll guarantee you that day that you come out to the park with us and come out to Sioux Falls and have a good time and barbecue and meet everybody, we're going to do an event out here in August. You're going to see that it's a community and it's people that really care. And there's no reason to be afraid because we are defending minority rights in South Dakota. One of the things that I realized when running on my local level is that just by having a third party voice, it gives us minority protections.
Right.
That we have a legal voice that says, no. Our party believes in decriminalization of all drugs, and we don't think you should be locking people in cages to punish them when they do nothing that causes a victim. Now, all of a sudden, our local government has a challenge.
So you went earlier when we talked about the idea of if you lose this race, you run for mayor. I want to ask about this race itself, right? How do you, look, obviously I hope you win. I hope your idea of all those people going into the state house, I hope that works, and I hope you get a big chunk of people. That would be amazing. I can't wait. I hope that happens. Let's assume that you don't win. Have you decided already what is a secondary victory? Like, for me, it was easy, right? New York State, if I lose the election, which I did, I still gain ballot access, which I did. So that was a good consolation prize, right? That was it was a good win if I don't get the first win. Do you have one in your race? Have you decided what that second one is?
So for this race, I would say name recognition. Making sure that people understand that even if my message doesn't get to them before they even vote, or if they're stuck in that building my name out there. I've got a friend that everybody that drives through right by his property every day, coming and going from town, he's offered to put up my billboard on his property that's right there on the highway, just to get people out in that name recognition that says, wait, what is that gold, black, and white brand over there? That's not our red and blue and white and all who's this Abernathy guy? I want them to do that, because then they're going to realize, wait, CJ wakes up every morning and I could go have coffee with him digitally every day if I wanted to. Where's my guy at that I was voting for before?
Yeah.
Why is CJ able to build a platform on his platform that allows anybody an open mic at any time to say what they want, when they want, no matter how it is, and to be presented in a way that's respectful and mindful of things, but at the end of the day, an outlet nonetheless that's an alternative voice to what's being given right now. And I think that my last goal out of this would be to earn that respect, that I ran an honorable race, that everybody knows that I'd be able to do this again in the future, and then have more support out the gate. So yeah, name recognition would be what I take from this the most, for sure.
I love it. That's awesome. Great.
Yes, sir.
CJ, anything else you want to talk about before we wrap this up?
Well, I know, sir, that you have a list of topics, things that you had mentioned about after, but one of the things that I did want to say is that if we come together as a party and understand that fundamentally, we come from different backgrounds. We come from different creeds, religions. This is the party that we need to protect as the minority status party and treat it as such. Because, I mean, I love, for example, how Dr. Jorgensen came out with her George Floyd topic response comment back on Facebook and Twitter through her channels. She was the first one to put it out. That's the way we should be. When a tragedy happens in our area, we're involved, we're engaged, we provide that outlet, we provide that support. If something like that, God forbid, ever happened in my district, I would not only be there front lines, I would be showing people where the door is they need to go to, not looting and rioting, but come to this section here of your government and go there to your Capitol building. This is where your governor sits. She sits here from 9 to 5. This is her work. You need to know where your government is. Right. And go there and just get that government problem down to what room, where does the buck stop? And that's where, when I ran for governor, I wanted it to say, like, you would be as easy to get a hold of me as calling me. If I want my governor to be as easy to get to a hold of as a Walmart tire center replacement. And I want to be able to have them say, yes, we can bring you in today. And if they say, no, we're not seeing you, I know where your store is. I'll be there in the next 2 hours. I live 2 hours from my Capitol building. And if you're not going to hear me on the phone, you're going to hear me in person. And we all don't want that. So you might want to respond, Governor Noam, because I can't. That. So, and I absolutely loved running for governor. My family was a little hard. I'm sure you could understand that it is hard to put your name out on that level.
100%.
But it takes a tough skin to handle it. Yeah, and I gained so much, Larry, from watching you and how you keep your composure, that I've been able to kind of develop this thick skin of libertarianism that says, I know my platform's better than yours, and unless you're on my platform, you're weaker than I am, and therefore I can hear your complaints. I'll fine tune my thought there. Maybe I missed something. I'll leave it open for that. But you're not going to be the guy that I'm going to worry about, because I'm going to worry about building up this guy over here. I'm going to be worried about getting involved in this local event over there. So
I always say the same thing. The reason why I don't lose debates is because I know that I always have the moral high ground, because I'm a libertarian.
Well, there is only one true libertarian, and it's all of us.
Well, no, it's Clayton Hunt, isn't it?
Say again?
It's Clayton Hunt. He calls himself the one true libertarian. It's a joke.
Yes.
So he's the only one. Yes.
Allegedly. So Larry, I think moving forward, I mean, whether I run for mayor or whether or not I get an okay from my fiance to run for governor again, I would love to challenge Kristi Noem. I have studied her platform. I have studied her mannerisms, how she debates, how she carries herself, her talking points that she clings to. I've thought out all the responses, and if I was to put my name in the hat again, I'd hope with this time it'd be having earned the respect of my fellow party members to get that mantle, to know that I won't take an advantage of an opportunity that I believe should be taken very seriously. And yes, while I am human, I am fallible, I am also teachable, relatable, and available to every one of them. So I
love that. So I'm going to have to run. Yep, I appreciate all the time you gave me. Thank you so much. For those who are interested in helping out CJ, head on over to his Facebook page. It's right there at the bottom. It's CJ Abernathy for
Don't
Senate.
Forget the E. Don't forget the E.
Absolutely. For Senate. Please do that if you can. And if you're in South Dakota, he needs help. He needs people to knock on doors. He needs people to wave signs. He needs people to get out there. He needs that. He also needs social media warriors. So feel free, click over there, link to him, and let's hope that the plan to take South Dakota, let's hope it works.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Larry. Take care.